Our good friend, Professor Jiang, is back. So it's time to roll up my sleeves and shout as loud as I possibly can that this dude is a quack with a capital quack quack. But hey, at least he's fun to laugh at. So welcome back to Archaeology with Flint Dibble. I'm Flint Dibble, and let's debunk this fake Professor Jiang again. This time, we'll dive into his interviews with Hasan Piker, do a deep dive into some of his teaching lectures, and focus on how he takes a steaming dump all over Homer's Iliad. In the last week, Jiang's appeared again on Piers for a short discussion about Iran, and Hasan Piker for a crazy 2-hour chat about politics and everything else.
So, Professor Jiang, you have been on the broadcast of numerous academics and also Sneeko, who is not necessarily an academic, but but you've had conversations with the likes of Dugan and many others. Very excited to have you here. You did an interview with Breaking Points. A longtime fan of your work.
Longtime fan of your work. You've been on so many podcasts. I'm gonna lick you. I'm gonna lick your asshole counterclockwise. Seriously, how can anybody be a fan of this wacko who's appearing on Sneeko? I cannot emphasize this enough. Professor Jiang just huffs any conspiracy theory that he can get a hold of.
So these past 4 years, I've been on a journey, and also I've been looking into certain conspiracy theories, like such as a moon landing, such as JFK, such as 9/11, and the evidence is kind of overwhelming.
Overwhelming in what direction? It's just fake.
In the government is covering things up, right? I mean, like, just look at 9/11, and you just Google World Trade Center building number 7. You're like, oh, wait a minute here. I thought 2 buildings came down, right? Because there were 2 planes, but 3 buildings came down that day. So how did that happen? Right? And like the moon landing. Oh, okay, we got to the moon, but apparently we lost all the technology. We lost all the data, the telemetry data, and we lost all the footage. So I'm like, oh, how did that happen? You know, like, you have this huge bureaucratic organization, and they lost all the technology.
What the fuck? No. No, we have not lost the technology from the moon landing or the data. The government is simply not covering up 9/11 nor the fucking moon landing. There are videos of both. The footage has not been lost. There are eyewitnesses who are still alive to both of them. I mean, Jiang just throws every conspiracy book at the audience, hoping to hook a few nut jobs. And guess what? It works. Because our world is unfortunately filled with stupidity who want to huff conspiracy theories just like Professor Jiang. So I have realized this about the good old fake professor. So I did a deep dive on him a few months ago. But Jiang really got his start right here on YouTube, where he has nearly 2 million subscribers. He gives lectures on current events and mostly actually history topics. So I'm here to tackle all his fake history and archaeology. From the start, I want to be absolutely clear. Professor Jiang is absolutely a wacko who spreads insanely harmful conspiracy theories about history and politics. His predictions about the future are mostly not accurate. After all, a broken clock is right twice a day. Professor Jiang is not even a professor. He teaches at a school in Beijing called Moonshot Academy. He's never taught at a university level. He does not hold any advanced degrees. His bachelor degree is in English literature, not historical or geopolitical topics. In my earlier video, I covered how Jiang claims to use an understanding of history to predict the future. Hence the name of that YouTube channel of his, Predictive History, which has gained nearly 1 million new subscribers since March when I made that video. However, as I showed, his understanding of history is frankly just fucking stupid. For example, he has several videos claiming that Roman history is fake.
Okay, does that make sense, guys? All right. So again, I hate to say this, but basically, all Roman history is complete nonsense.
Yeah, all of Roman history is complete nonsense. And he goes on, he makes this argument using no evidence or logic to claim that Hannibal Barca, the famous Hannibal, and the Carthaginian wars that he fought in are completely made up.
The thing is, you can also say that Hannibal Barca did not exist as a person, all right?
Yeah, we can say Hannibal Barca didn't exist as a person. Now, look, I'm not going to repeat this debunk. If you want to see the evidence we have for Hannibal and the Carthaginian Wars and Roman history, go check out my earlier video debunking his fake history bullshit. The reality is that Professor Jiang is just making it up as he goes along. But what I want to do is dig in this video to the biggest revelation I encountered in the earlier video, and I glossed it over. A few months ago, I found this clip of him on his channel.
Now, when you see me teach, you think, oh, you must have a script. You must have outlined the class. I don't do that. I have a conception, I have a framework in my head. I come to class and I teach. How do I teach? I watch your observations, I watch your facial expressions, and based on your responses, I then start to flesh out the framework. And how do I do that? Because I'm always accessing a higher force, and I'm receiving this information that I can then articulate to you in class. And that's why, if you have been with me for a long, long time, 10 years, you will know I've never taught the same class ever. You can go on YouTube and watch all my videos. I teach this class different each time. Because each time, what I'm doing is I'm channeling a higher force and bringing it to you.
He's channeling a higher force and bringing it to us. Look, I don't know what to tell you. These are the core strategies of a false prophet. He builds his narrative off of the faces and body language of his audience. That's called cold reading. It's used by grifting psychics all the time. And of course, claiming to channel voices of God and whatnot, that's a trope as old as time, used by so many fraudsters in history. So the comments from all the Jiang fanboys is that I apparently clipped him out of context throughout that video. And no, sorry, I apologize, I did not. He repeats this talking point about channeling voices or channeling God frequently. It's not just about him either. The idea that humans can channel God and channel voices from the universe is a core component of his worldview, as we're going to see. For example, just a few days ago, he told Hasan Piker that his spiritual awakening was recognizing that Dante, yeah, the famous Dante, was apparently channeling God.
Caused your spiritual awakening. So how did that happen?
Right, okay. So it was a series of events, okay? But my first great epiphany was when I was teaching Dante, the Divine Comedy. And it was my first time reading Divine Comedy. And it took me a long time to try to appreciate its beauty, its truth. But when I did, I recognized that this could not have been written by a human being.
Hasan's face here is priceless. He's just like, what?
It is just so beautiful, so perfect, and it revealed a deeper truth. And my only conclusion is this was not written by a human being out of his own free will, out of his own experience. A lot of things I felt he was channeling God. I felt he was channeling the universe, and then explaining the truth in poetry.
Now, okay, ridiculousness aside, Jiang has a bachelor's in English literature from Yale, which I hear is a pretty good school. So we can actually dive in and debunk Jiang at his strength and experience, literature. And in doing so, we can show that he really is a fraud from head all the way down to his toes. Now, I don't plan on diving into Dante's Divine Comedy. I've never read it. And Jiang admits actually he was never taught it while in school. So again, it's something he's just making up on the spot.
So you didn't read Divine Comedy through your English major at Yale?
No. And Divine Comedy is actually very hard to read. I mean, I read a lot of classics at Yale. I read, Homer and Plato, but we never read the Divine Comedy.
Ah, now Homer. That's something I know really well. I've read the Iliad and the Odyssey many times, both in ancient Greek and in several different English translations. So this is something I can dive into. Heck, I have taught the Iliad and the Odyssey to Ivy League students. And Jiang, he learned these texts in the Ivy League at Yale. And his great book series is one of the key planks on his own channel.
Politics, game theory, as well as great books, Homer, Dante, Plato, and that's what made me popular online.
I've seen the videos. So the videos that you have on the internet, you actually have students in the room with you. Like that's a lecture from high school. I assume is it high school?
It's a high school, and I have like one student in the class. Yes.
Did you have one student?
Sometimes two. You know, sometimes if I make it lucky, I get two. But yeah, usually one student in the classroom. Yes.
What the fuck? He has one student in the classroom, sometimes two. This is just fucking weird. Everything about this guy is just fucking weird. All right. We got to get back on track. We will hear from that one student a little later, as clearly that's the student that reads the text of Homer's Iliad and Odyssey for his audience during his Great Books videos. So, all right, let's go to the very beginning of his great book series. And he doesn't begin it with any text or not, any great book. Instead, he explains that great works of literature are there to unlock the secrets of the universe.
So this is a great secret of the universe. This is a secret that religions have passed on through thousands of years of human history, and which schools, science, government, all the powers that be try to suppress because it is a direct threat to this reality. Okay? This reality is false, but they want to make it real because they derive power from this reality.
Oh my God. Teachers are suppressing history and the past and the realities of the universe because teachers are so powerful. We get power from suppressing this truth. This is what we do. This is the hallmarks of a fucking conspiracy theory, man. Every single one of them is like, they don't want you to know the truth about the universe. So believe me.
Okay, does that make sense, guys? Okay, I mean that you've been taught in school. I mean that you've learned in science class. It is complete and utter nonsense. This is what's true.
Yes, this is what's true. Jesus, Christ consciousness, second coming. Oh my God, I can tell that this is the truth. This is definitely not a bunch of mumbo jumbo. You're only speaking the truth. Straight to the truth, Professor Jiang.
Okay, so now that we understand all of this, we can also understand the great books. Because what I will show you this semester is, if you truly want to achieve these three things, immortality, reincarnation, godhood, the secrets lies in the great books. The great books are constructed in a way that allows you to access the entire secrets of the universe. Okay? So, what the great books are, it is a capturing of the universe in a state. And as a result, there's a universe within the great books.
Are you following this? You're going to unlock the secrets of immortality, reincarnation, and godhood just from reading some books. Or maybe you don't even need to read them. You can just listen to the good old Professor Jiang and be reincarnated as an immortal who's a god.
And by embracing the great books, by letting the great books come into you, and then you enter the great books, you have the capacity to travel in a new universe, but you also have the capacity now to create your own universe. And that's what the great books are. Okay? They are the secret of what it means to be human. And they provide the secret of how to be truly, fully human.
I mean, to be frank, I can see why so many people follow him. He's promising everything. He's promising the secrets of the universe, the secrets of humanity, the tools to unlock a better life. I mean, this is the hallmark of every single grifter, but it unfortunately works.
All right? And what we'll do is this. This is not meant to be, okay, a semester later on, like 3 months from now, oh, you'll be immortal, you'll be God. No, that's not the way it works, okay?
What? I want to be immortal and God now. What do you mean this isn't how it works? Now I don't actually get why anybody follows him. If he's not promising immediate, instant results, what the fuck is the point of listening to this dude?
What I will show you is a path, but it's up to you to focus and sacrifice yourself on this path into enlightenment, okay? Metaphor, a simple analogy is, everyone knows swimming is the best exercise in the world, right? Well, if I just say, go swim, doesn't mean you learn how to swim in one day. It'll take you decades to learn how to swim really well. We all know meditation is really good for you, right? It'll take you decades to fully learn how to meditate well. Okay, so this is a journey that is lifelong. But it's a journey that requires sacrifice. It's a journey that requires you to fully learn the great books. I can't teach you all the great books. I can't teach you all the secrets of the great books. I can only give you a framework. Okay?
Please give me this framework. I want to walk the path to reincarnation, immortality, and godhood. I'm with you, Jiang. I will do this lifelong practice. Just give me the secrets of the universe, man.
And you must abandon this material reality that is false, okay? Abandon money, power, sex, fame, and focus on embracing the great books. And when you do that, the universe comes into you, okay? Christians want to be possessed by Jesus. They want Jesus to enter them and resurrect Jesus, create the Christ consciousness in them. What we want to do is we want to welcome the greatest minds of human civilization, the prophets of our time, the prophets of humanity, including Homer, Plato, Dante, Kant, into our consciousness so that we can be fully human. Okay? So we're going to do what the Christians want to do, but instead of Jesus, we'll have Homer, Dante, Kant, Plato, and anyone else you want, okay? It's your choice who you want to come and possess you, who want to come and enter you.
You're right. It's my choice about who I want to come and enter me. I mean, what a question, Jiang. Who do you want to come and enter you? I mean, how the fuck does anybody take this guy seriously? This video has over 1 million fucking views, and people do take him seriously. How is this not just humor? Something is seriously wrong with our world right now. This dude is a fucking false prophet. He's just making up shit about reincarnation and the second coming of Jesus, and yes, even great books, all while saying stupid, silly shit. But, and I want to stress this, all of this actually connects to his perspective on the world, and it all relates to actually, yes, ding, 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 how he channels voices, letting those voices come inside him. Yes, that's what he's talking about here in every single one of these lectures on the great books. Jiang is apparently teaching his students how to feel the vibrations of the universe.
So I'm going to propose a theory to you today, okay? Which goes back to last class. Okay, imagine this. Imagine that we are composed essentially of two selves, okay? Two selves. There is the body, and the body comes materially, right? Okay, we know that. We know that through evolution. But then our consciousness comes from our interactions with the universe, okay? So our brain, it's not a storage facility, it's an antenna for the vibrations of the universe, okay?
My brain is an antenna for the vibrations of the universe. Beep, 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 beep. Channeling God. Beep, 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 beep. Channeling God.
And we call this consciousness. And remember, last class, we discussed how this consciousness, the universe is conscious, right? And there are infinite dimensions to this consciousness. And this is where our memories are stored. So a very simple analogy is think about the internet, right? You have a computer, you have a laptop, and some memory is stored on the laptop, but most of it is actually stored in the cloud. And how the computer works is by interacting with the internet, your computer becomes more conscious. Okay, does that make sense?
No, that does not make sense. My memories are stored in my head, man. This makes zero sense.
Same thing here, where if you just use the human brain and just assume that everything comes from the human brain, nothing makes sense. But if you assume that the human brain is merely an antenna to the universal consciousness, it makes a lot more sense.
Okay, yeah, when you explain it like that, it does make a lot more sense.
Okay? And not only that, but by imagination, by consciousness, we're able to implant ourselves into the universe. Okay? And different emotions implant themselves in different wavelengths, different dimensions. Okay?
Now I got to ask a physicist or an organic biologist, or I don't even know who to ask. Do emotions end up in different wavelengths? I'm guessing this is bullshit. Tell me in the comments.
Does that make sense? So the combination of your emotions now leads to a unique imprint in the universe. Okay? And different personalities will obviously have the same imprint in the universe. And we call this archetypes. Okay? Archetypes. This is from Carl Jung, who is a Swiss psychologist. Okay?
Ah, yes. Let's go to some outdated psychology. I'm sure this is going to be good.
Or Jung. The word he uses is archetypes. Okay, they're different personalities, and they are accessing the same parts of the universe, and so they behave the same. That's why certain people look alike. Okay? If you're an evil person, you have a certain look to your face, right? If you're a good person, you have a certain look to your face. Okay? If you're clever, you have a certain look.
Yeah, no, this is not good. This is absolutely debunked. This whole physiognomic approach to people's personalities is bullshit. What you look like on the outside has nothing to do with your actual personality and behavior. If not, I wonder what Jiang would actually look like.
Okay? So archetypes. And so what's happening is that what Homer is doing is that he's opened his mind to the universe. And therefore, he's able to access all archetypes. Okay? We all do this for empathy, but Homer's able to do this at a greater level than everyone else. Okay?
This is absolute garbage bullshit, man. My radar alert for BS is going off. Ding, 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 ding. That's what my antenna does, by the way. My antenna connects to the universe and it detects bullshit.
And then he's able to transplant these archetypes into the world of the Iliad. And that's how he's able to create what he does. A word we have for these people are prophets. Right? What are prophets? Prophets are those who bring the truth of the universe onto our world and construct it in a language that allows us to access this truth eternally. Okay? So in this time in history, poets are prophets, are teachers. These are the same function, okay?
Dude, this guy just wants to be a prophet so bad. He's like, I'm a teacher, see? And therefore I'm a poet who channels God, and therefore I'm a prophet. So listen to me, for I am the almighty Professor Jiang. You will listen to my predictions of the future. You will listen to me garble history and the great books of literature, but you will watch my YouTube channel and fund my extravagant lifestyle.
Where you're accessing the truth of the universe and you're spreading this truth through words that enable the construction of civilization. Okay? So, and we think this is true. Why? Because think about how amazing it is that the Iliad was written 2,500 years ago, okay? It was written 2,500 years ago, by this guy, Homer, living in the Mediterranean, the Aegean, right? Different culture, different time, but the Iliad is able to speak directly to you as a Chinese person living in China in the 21st century. Not only that, but you're able to imagine Achilles as yourself. So if we assume that the universe is conscious and it is infinite and eternal,
I mean, this is a good assumption. The universe is conscious. That from that assumption, we can draw so many amazing conclusions, right, Jiang? Right?
and there are archetypes that exist within this universe that Homer is able to draw on, then that makes sense now. Okay? This is both spaceless and timeless, this consciousness. All right? Is this clear, you guys?
Crystal clear, man. Following you 100%. This is clear as shit.
Okay? Because if this is not true, then you have to answer the question, how was Homer able to do this? Right? How was he able to construct characters like Achilles, Odysseus, Agamemnon that are so real that they feel alive to us, that they're so real that we can hear them speak to themselves, so real that they themselves can hear themselves speak to others? Okay? Any questions?
Oh, yeah. Professor. Over here, Professor. I've got a couple questions for you. I got a couple questions. Oh, thank you. Yes, I've been waiting to talk. So, first of all, how are you so fucking stupid? Second of all, how do so many people listen to this obvious bullshit and take it seriously? I can't even answer these questions. This is insane. So, all right, this segment though and everything in it is at the core of Jiang's approach here. You can see how he ties together channeling voices or an antenna in your brain that receives the vibrations of the universe to the constructions of characters in literature via Jung's archetypes. Now, I simply cannot be clear enough. This is also exactly where Jiang goes wrong. As we'll see, Jiang relies on a lazy approach to Achilles in Homer's Iliad and Odyssey that ignores what is actually said in the books in favor of these very strange thoughts following such archetypal models. But to answer his last question about how does Homer create these characters, the answer is that he doesn't. The Iliad and Odyssey are the products of a long tradition, nearly 1,000 years of oral storytelling in ancient Greece. Homer didn't invent Achilles and his wrath, nor Odysseus and his cleverness. Homer took these already existing characters and took already existing stories about them and tied them all together into a great work of literature. These basic facts about these stories have been known for well over 100 years. Heck, the ancient Greeks like Plato even knew that these characters were not created by Homer, but they were part of a larger epic cycle of stories. So Jiang, talking about how a poet like Homer is an antenna to the universe, beep, 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 and all of the universal archetypes out there is absolute bullshit. Homer listened to existing stories about these characters and reframed them into his own story. Some great stories. Nobody's denying that. But he or she didn't have an antenna to the universe, but rather an ear for other storytellers and then adapted their material.
But these are the universe, right? And remember how we said before, our memories are stored in the universe. The universe is almost like a divine psychic internet, right?
Man, could you imagine if this was actually true? If we could just connect to the divine psychic internet? We wouldn't need smartphones or computers anymore. We just go beep.
Oh, every single memory is stored inside the universe. And what poets do is they're able to access this universe. And as a result, they're able to summon the memories of the universe. And when they do that, they create epics of poetry, okay? All right, the Iliad. Now, as I keep on discussing, when we read the Iliad, each character is a real person, okay? Each character has a living past, present, and future.
Man, I really want to get a huff off of whatever the hell he's smoking. Now, look, I'm not going to like trash him for saying the characters in the Iliad are real people, because he actually doesn't mean that in that way. If you listen to more of his lectures, he agrees that the Iliad is fictional, but it creates these characters in such a real life way that that's what makes it a great book. So, as you can see in every single one of these lectures, though, he repeats this same mumbo jumbo about poets tapping into the universe as an explanation for how these poets create such a rich world filled with super cool characters like Achilles and Odysseus. So, all right, with some of Jiang's theoretical crap debunked, let's see how Jiang gets things absolutely fucking wrong in the Iliad and the Odyssey. Specifically with how he makes assumptions about these archetypal characters that are just bullshit. As someone with a bachelor's in literature, he should know that the first step to understanding literature is to actually read the damn thing rather than just spouting off about it. So, Jiang's goal throughout these lectures is to explain how Homer creates such archetypal characters. But the problem is that he gets everything wrong about the characters in the stories. Instead of recounting what Homer tells us about Achilles or Agamemnon or whatnot, he just makes up whatever Jiang thinks is true about Achilles or Agamemnon or whatnot, based on archetypes rather than what Homer wrote. For example, let's go to the very beginning. The Iliad starts with Apollo sending disease to the Greeks at Troy. Apollo wants Agamemnon to return his captured slave woman, Chryseis, to her father, who is one of Apollo's priests. So the Greeks, Achilles included, are pressuring Agamemnon to give up this enslaved woman, Chryseis. Jiang explains Agamemnon's response to this situation in this way.
Says, you have to give the girl back. And Agamemnon says, fine, I'll give the girl back, but in return, I want your girl. So that's a response to Achilles. He feels as though Achilles made him lose face, so now he wants to make Achilles lose face as well. Okay? But also, what's important is that Agamemnon is considering how others are perceiving the interaction, right? What does Agamemnon require or demand Achilles' girlfriend? Because Agamemnon does not want to lose face amongst the others, okay? So he recognizes that if he just says to Achilles, you know what, Achilles, you're right, he would lose face amongst the other generals. He would lose respect. And in this world, if no one respects you, you could get killed, okay? These people are gangsters.
Real insightful analysis here. Yes, Agamemnon, king of kings, and all the other kings of the Greeks are just fucking gangsters. All right, I'll give it to him. On a sort of superficial level, they kind of are. I'll give him to that one. You win this time, Jiang. You win this time.
So he recognizes that in order to save face, I must now demand something from Achilles to show that I am his superior. Okay, he's so conscious of that as well. But also, he's here at the same time, he's going to step back, okay? And he's going to be conscious of his own words to make sure that his words together make sense. That for him, it is coherent, okay? And so what he says to Achilles is, why am I doing this? Because I love my girlfriend.
Spoiler, he never said that. Not at all. And in fact, it's not his girlfriend. It's an enslaved woman that he captured.
Okay? You stole from me who I love. And therefore, I must enact a vengeance on you. Okay? So you see how coherent all this. He is saying to Achilles, to ensure that you understand that I'm your superior, I'm going to take what you most prize. And then he's thinking about the reaction of the war council to make sure that they understand that he's still the top boss. But he's also, in his head, ensuring that what he says is coherent in itself, okay? That what he's doing has a rationale. The rationale is because I loved her. Because you're stealing from me my greatest love. I love her more than my own wife, Clytemnestra. Okay? So you can see how coherent all this. And this is amazing if you think about it, right? And this is what makes Agamemnon a real character to us. All right?
This is really amazing when you think about it. It's just so coherent. It's such insightful analysis, dear fake Professor Jiang. It's Agamemnon's love for the slave woman Chryseis that makes him a real character, just like Pinocchio. Except, of course, everything, and I mean everything that Professor Jiang said here is simply fucking invented by him. Nowhere in the Iliad does Agamemnon ever, not once, express love for Chryseis. No, she is simply a war prize. And his rationale for taking Achilles' own captured slave woman, whose name is Briseis, which is confusing. Chryseis, Briseis, Chryseis, Briseis, say it 10 times fast. But Agamemnon's rationale for stealing her from Achilles is that, and I quote from Iliad Book 1, since Phoebus Apollo is taking away my Chryseis, whom I'm sending back aboard ship with my friends, I'm coming to your hut, Achilles, and taking Briseis, your own beautiful prize, so that you will see just how much stronger I am than you. So yeah, this is some gangster shit. I will give him that. But there's no mention of love as some sort of justification. No describing Chryseis as a girlfriend who he loves more than his wife Clytemnestra. This is all just phony baloney bullshit. Plus, if this was love, what kind of love is this that he just go and take another girl immediately from Achilles? Like, what the fuck? This is not real love. In the Iliad, however, it's just power politics, that gangster shit. Agamemnon is the king of kings. His prize was taken back by Apollo, so out of spite, he takes Achilles' prize, like a spoiled fucking bully. Jiang is just making up this shit about love because it sounds coherent to himself. It's not coherent with the Iliad, though. But hey, as Jiang puts it,
in the Iliad, what's amazing is that not only are the main characters alive, but every single character, whether it's Odysseus, Hector, Priam, Nestor, they're all alive as well with real emotions and real feelings and real experiences.
I'm a real boy. I have real emotions and real feelings and real experiences. I'm real.
Okay? And the reason why, and we know this, is that if this is true, then we're able to look back at how this came into being in the past. And we're also able to make predictions about the future.
What's so weird here is this has nothing to do with the past and the future. This is a lecture on a work of literature, the Iliad, and he's going off on his spiel about what predictive history is. He's like lost a fuse in his brain and tripped up.
All this is coherent, okay? So based on this, we will now know that the major conflict in the Iliad is the one between Agamemnon and Achilles, where they're struggling for control over narrative, where Achilles wants everyone to believe that he is doing everything he can to save the Greeks. He's a hero. And Agamemnon is trying to get everyone to believe that Achilles is just a selfish asshole, okay? And that's what leads them to behave the way they do, including suicidal behavior. Because remember, as you read,
what the fuck? Yes, suicidal behavior. There's so much of that in the Iliad. All right. Again, this is all fucking made up. Like, of course, the characters come off as alive. It's a work of fucking fiction. And like so many other great works of fiction that have pretty cool characters, they seem real when they're not. But Jiang is still here just taking a dump all over this great work of literature. Achilles never claims to be doing everything he can to save the Greeks. That'd be modern heroism. In the Iliad, he is openly selfish. He sits around in his tent for almost the entire book, refusing to fight after Agamemnon steals his slave woman Briseis from him. Why would he? In his eyes, he's just been wronged, and his honor is more important to him than appearing as a hero. These ideas of love and heroism, They are not part of the Iliad. These are modern concepts that do not map onto this ancient work of literature. And it's really clear that Jiang did not go ahead and try to read the Iliad again before teaching it, as he's just randomly spouting shit. Probably the last time he read it was in Yale, like 30 years ago. And if this is Jiang's interpretation of the opening scene of the Iliad, well, believe me, it gets worse. Much, much worse. Now, if you've ever read the Iliad, there's a lot of speeches in it. Agamemnon gives a speech, then Achilles, then Nestor, then Odysseus, then Agamemnon again, then Achilles again, etc., etc., etc. It's got a lot of dialogue. Why? Well, because as Jiang put it earlier, these are fully fleshed out characters, and they like to argue and express themselves. It's fun to hear them argue, just like we listen to arguments on social media or tune into them on TV or in the movies. But Jiang doesn't see it that way. Here's what he thinks of these speeches.
All right, so remember the context. Achilles gets in a fight with Agamemnon. He refuses to fight. And the Trojans, led by Hector, are destroying the Greeks. So Agamemnon and Odysseus and the others, Nestor, have a war council, and they agree that they'll go and beg Achilles to come back. Okay? And Odysseus and Nestor and others, they go to Achilles, and they present an argument to Achilles. And Odysseus gives a very long speech. Now, the question for us is, why are the speeches in the Iliad so goddamn long, right?
Seriously, why are these speeches so goddamn long? Some of them are like 3 or 4 paragraphs long and go on for like a page or two. Oh my God, they're so goddamn long.
Because Odysseus can simply say, hey, Achilles, we'll give you $1 million. Will you fight for us, please?
Yeah, seriously, why didn't Odysseus just say to Achilles, hey, here's $1 million, and then come fight for us? Like, what the fuck?
He can also say, hey, Achilles, we're losing a war. Stop being an asshole. Come fight for us, okay? He can make it very, very short. Why is it so long, right? And then Achilles, his response can be like, no. Okay, but he also offers a very long speech.
Could somebody not finish reading the homework last night? I think it was the professor.
And the answer is, they're not trying to respond to each other. They're trying to create their own reality, okay? So with his speech, what you're really trying to do is you're trying to project a movie onto the world. You're trying to create a new reality that others must inhabit. Okay, that's why speech making is like war fighting. You're trying to create your own reality and impose it on others, right? So remember what Odysseus is doing. He knows that Achilles, for him, it's really about face, right? He's lost face in front of the others, and that's why he won't back down. That's why he insists on Agamemnon apologizing, okay? But Odysseus also knows that Agamemnon himself won't apologize. So for Odysseus, because he is the great orator, that is his arete, what he's going to try to create a new reality that Achilles inhabits, and which will convince him to join Odysseus in the war, okay?
What the fuck is this shit? The dude couldn't finish reading the Iliad before teaching it, so he's just making up shit. What a fucking quack. Quack, 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 quack. I am absolutely sorry for making you all listen to those 2 minutes of him blabbering. You will never, ever get those 2 minutes back. And I want to be absolutely clear. He said nothing at all that is relevant or interesting or smart about the speeches given to try and convince Achilles to return to fighting. What's happening? What's happening here is that Jiang is simply projecting. His lectures, if you listen to them, are about projecting a new reality on the listener, a reality that is divorced from actual facts or evidence. It's just the fantasy of whatever pops into his head, a fantasy where he seems to be a professor when he's not, a fantasy where he appears intelligent and well-read when he's not at all. This, after all, is the core of Jiang's grift. He talks and he talks and he talks and he talks, and he seems at times to promote positivity in the world. Read great literature. Understand the power of love and empathy. Hey, here's a hidden look at history and politics. But in reality, it's all just fucking made up bullshit. There is no there there. There's literally nothing. It's just hollow. So, when Jiang summarizes Odysseus' speech to Achilles, and I want you all to guess, do you think he accurately summarizes it?
Odysseus, because he is the great orator, that is his arete. What he's going to do is try to create a new reality that Achilles inhabits, and which will convince him to join Odysseus in the war. Okay? So how does he do that? What he does is he expands the imagination of Achilles. All right? That's why the speech is so long, because he's trying to create a new emotional reality for Achilles. Right now, Achilles is selfish, right? So what does Odysseus say to Achilles? The first thing he says is, Achilles, I want you to imagine this. Before us is a great feast. We can see this feast. Now I want you to imagine what's the opposite of this feast. A great desert where we're all dying, we're all starving. And that's the war we're fighting right now against the Trojans. That's why we need you back. Okay, so it's a powerful image.
I cannot emphasize this enough. Guess what? Jiang is fucking making it all up. Not a single word of this is said by Odysseus. Here, let me quote from Book 9 of the Iliad. I'll start with the feast, which, by the way, is not imaginary. It's an actual feast that Achilles, Patroclus, Odysseus, and Phoenix are eating. Quote, Patroclus, godlike in the fire's glare, fed the blaze. When the flames died down, he laid the spits over the scattered embers, resting them on stones, and sprinkled the morsels with holy salt. When the meat was roasted, he laid it on platters and set out bread in exquisite baskets. Achilles served the meat, then sat down by the wall opposite Odysseus and asked Patroclus to offer sacrifice. After he threw the offerings in the fire, they helped themselves to the meal before them. And when they had enough of food and drink, Ajax nodded to Phoenix. Notice this feast is real. Okay? This is a feast they're all eating. Now let's go on. Odysseus saw this, and filling a cup, he lifted it to Achilles. To your health, Achilles, for a generous feast. There is no shortage in Agamemnon's hut, or now here in yours, of satisfying food. But the pleasures of the table are not on our minds. We fear the worst. It is doubtful that we can save the ships without your strength. The Trojans and their allies are encamped close to the wall that surrounds our black ships and are betting that we can't keep them from breaking through. I mean, all right, I guess the feast is imaginary to us as this is a story of fiction. But Odysseus doesn't ask Achilles to imagine a feast. Achilles feeds Odysseus the feast. Odysseus doesn't describe war like a desert. Nowhere. Not once. That's a phrase from Tacitus 1,000 years later about the Romans making a desert and calling it peace. It's not in the fucking Iliad. Jiang is just taking a dump on this great work of literature. It's so depressing that so many fucking people listen to this quack quack. Like, what the fuck? But I guess according to Jiang, he himself is both a poet and a prophet because he's creating a new reality for us, right?
We're now able to come to a collective understanding of reality, right? And who creates language? Poets create language. And therefore, poets, through their poetry, create reality onto itself. That's what Odysseus is trying to do. He's trying to, for his poetry, create a new reality for everyone to live in. A reality in which people get along. A reality in which people, like Achilles, are able to forget their hatred against Agamemnon and fight for the common good. Okay? All right? So, even though each of us has our own understanding of reality.
Yes, we all have our own understanding of reality, but yours is just fucking wrong.
A poet is able to create a language that is so beautiful that it comes into us, and we internalize the language, we absorb the language, and we together create a new reality with the language as the building blocks. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? All right.
No, it doesn't make sense. I have a lot of questions, Professor.
So let me explain now how Homer is able to do this. Okay? Let's talk about how Homer is able to do this. Homer. how is a poet able to create reality? Okay, so a poet is unique in the world. Poets are really prophets, okay?
Look, after all, this is exactly how Jiang sees himself. He is the one who's creating a new reality with his hot air. He tells us about history and literature, geopolitics, and the future. People listen to him. They imagine this shit as real. Does it matter if he's wrong? Well, I fucking think so. I wonder if his fans do. Or are they simply just too lazy to fact check him?
All inspiration. When Homer is speaking, he doesn't know what he's speaking. He doesn't. Are you telling me like this guy who's just blah, 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 he's able to understand, oh, this is what Odysseus is doing. Odysseus is trying to create a reality and he's using imagery, he's using diction. No, he doesn't understand anything. He's just blah, 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 okay? Because he's a divine fire. He's just channeling God, okay? He's just a portal for God to speak with the universe, with us.
When Professor Jiang is speaking, he doesn't know what he's speaking. Are you telling me that this guy who goes blah, 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 blah is able to understand this bullshit? When Professor Jiang is creating a new plot for the Iliad, he's using imagery and diction. No, Jiang doesn't understand anything. He's just blah, 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 blah. He's just channeling the weird voices in his head. He's just bringing the weird voices here for you to listen to and understand yourself. I mean, seriously, what the fuck? This dude is absolutely unhinged. I absolutely cannot fathom how anyone thinks that this is intelligent. The speeches are too long. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Jiang continues to absolutely shit the fucking bed with the Iliad. In the start of this final video on the epic poem, he sets it up completely and utterly wrong. Just fucking stupidly fucking wrong. So, to get you all caught up on the plot, though, essentially King Nestor convinces Patroclus, who is Achilles' best friend or possibly lover, to dress up in Achilles' armor and pretend to be Achilles in order to strike fear in the Trojans and beat them back. However, Patroclus first needs to convince Achilles to let him wear his own armor. And so this is how our dear fake Professor Jiang presents the scene.
So this is Patroclus, and this is Achilles. And if you read the speech, we will discover that this battle is being fought at 3 levels, okay? There is the conscious, emotional level, okay? Then there is the calculating, manipulative.
Oh, manipulative. Watch, he's going to project here.
And then there is the strategic, okay, planning level. All right, so imagine 3 different individuals together in Patroclus. The first person is the actor, okay? The person who appears before Patroclus and cries like a girl, right? Then there's the calculating, which is like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want Achilles to agree to me to join the battlefield against the Trojans, okay? And the strategic, okay, the old wise man sitting in the back is like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to convince Achilles to agree, then I'm going to join the battlefield and I'm going to win honor, okay? Does it make sense, okay?
No, it doesn't make sense. This is just your random bullshit psychobabble. But go on, let's hear you out.
The first person just appears before Achilles and does the acting. Second person is the one trying to explain the direction, okay? The third person is the long-term director, okay? So think of this as the actor, director, and producer, okay? Or the investor. What is my long-term gain from this? Now, Achilles is the same, right? Because Patroclus cannot understand Achilles' mentality, okay? So the actor in Achilles is like, why are you crying, Patroclus? This is not our war. The director in Achilles is, maybe I can trick Patroclus in helping me enter the battlefield, right? And the producer is like,
What? Achilles doesn't trick Patroclus at all. He's just completely making this up as he goes.
I want to win glory for myself. Okay? And it's all very subtle. But if you read their dialogue, if you read the debate, you'll recognize that this is all happening at once. But not only that, but if you examine your own life and the decisions you make, you will recognize that you're doing all three at once, okay?
Wow, that is absolutely deep. If you take this analysis and apply it to Professor Jiang, it's clear that there are three Professor Jiangs at the exact same time in front of us. The first one's emotions make him too lazy to read the Iliad. The second one is manipulative and decides to just lie about what happens in the text. And the third, he is strategic and he decides to profit from these lies by turning them all into popular conspiracy mush. Again, I simply cannot emphasize enough that this is all just fucking horse manure. It is some weird psychobabble that completely misrepresents these characters. Repeatedly, as we'll see in this lecture, Jiang seems to think that Achilles is the one who's tricking Patroclus to go out in his armor in order to create a ruse where Achilles can rejoin the war himself without losing face. I want to be clear, this was King Nestor's idea, which Patroclus loved, and then Patroclus had to go convince Achilles to do this. So it's all fucking Jiang's fantasy. Achilles is, after all, reluctant in everything about this plan. He does not want to fight because he's been wronged and disrespected by Agamemnon. And he is clearly described by Homer as a straightforward individual. He is not devious like Odysseus. He does not create some sort of trick here. He allows, because he's convinced by Patroclus, he allows Patroclus to go and fight in his own armor, but he makes him promise to be careful and not go too far. Achilles doesn't want to see Patroclus die at the hands of Hector or the gods of Apollo and whatnot. That's just what he doesn't want. But Jiang just keeps sniffing his farts, all those farts that are emanating out of his food hole.
And why does Achilles do this? Achilles understands that Patroclus, if he's young, he's impetuous, he's jealous. If you give it the opportunity, he will seek glory for himself. And therefore, he might get himself killed. And you know what? If he kills himself or he gets himself killed, good for me, Achilles, right? Because now I have the perfect excuse to join the battlefield when win all the glory for myself, okay?
This is not true. This does not happen. These are not thoughts that Achilles expresses. I cannot tell you enough just how much this is just made up bullshit straight out of the voices that are channeled into Professor Jiang's brain.
You understand? And this is impossible to see. No one, the Greeks don't see this. The gods can't see this. But Patroclus himself can't see this. And Achilles himself doesn't know he's doing this.
Ah, I see. So it's only Professor Jiang who knows that he's doing this. It only exists in your fucking head. It's the beep, 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 beep bullshit.
You understand? Okay? So the question for us then is, how does this happen? How are we able to function at three different levels and do things that are invisible to ourselves and to others? All right? How is it that we make decisions? How is it that we manipulate other people as well ourselves? Okay, does that make sense? That's a question before us today.
What the absolute fuck? My jaw is like on the ground right now. The question before us today is how to manipulate people. I thought we were reading the fucking Iliad, man. Achilles isn't a narcissistic con artist. That's you, Jiang. Somehow, fake Professor Jiang has twisted this lecture into a lesson in how to con people, which I guess makes sense since that's exactly what he's doing in real time. He's lying and conning the people in the room and the people tuning into his YouTube channel. And millions of them are eating it up and supporting him without realizing they're even being lied to, without realizing that he's creating a reality that simply isn't true. Whether it's about our human history, great works of literature, or his analysis of the present and future. It's all just a steaming pile of fucking dog shit. And he is so open in what he's doing. His lectures are filled with projection. All it takes is listening to what he's saying and realizing that you can apply everything he says to himself, to the fake Professor Jiang. Just don't go and apply it to the Iliad. For the love of God, just don't apply it to the Iliad. So, okay, what happens next in the plot of the Iliad is that Achilles' fear comes true. Patroclus beats back the Trojans. He goes too far. Apollo gets his revenge, and Hector kills Patroclus. So, how does Jiang describe Achilles' reaction, and how does he get it wrong?
Comfort Achilles by holding this funeral games for Patroclus, right? But that doesn't really solve the problem. And now Achilles is he's depressed, basically. He can't sleep, he can't eat, he can't even cry for his friend. He's so overburdened by guilt, okay? So that is the issue where you are connected with the universe, okay? The universe is conscious, you are the universe itself. So when you do evil, okay? And he knows, he in his heart knows he's the one who got Patroclus killed.
No, he didn't.
He manipulated Patroclus into his death. Then you know, because the universe knows. And this haunts you for the rest of your life. Okay? You cannot escape it. So when you do evil, God doesn't have to punish you because you punish yourself with the memory of it, okay? Your soul burns with regret and despair and guilt and shame. Okay? Does that make sense? All right?
No, bitch, that doesn't make sense. In fact, it's all just ding, 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 fucking wrong. Achilles, I cannot emphasize this enough. Achilles did not manipulate Patroclus to his death. And Achilles very much cried over Patroclus's death repeatedly. When he first heard the news, I quote from Book 18, "The sound of Achilles' grief stung the air." He cried really fucking loud there, Jiang. Later, after Patroclus' body has been recovered by the Greeks, Achilles spends the night with his friend or lover, and he is described as, quote, "But the Greeks mourned Patroclus the whole night through, and Achilles began the incessant lamentation, laying his man-slaying hands on Patroclus' chest and groaning over and over like a bearded lion." He cried again. Even days later, after killing Hector, Achilles continues crying for Patroclus. He addresses his soldiers saying, quote, "I know you love your horses, but before we unhitch them from the chariots, let us all stay in armor and drive up close and weep for Patroclus." Let us weep for Patroclus. Us includes Achilles. I cannot emphasize this enough. The dude cries all the fucking time. Like all of the heroes in Homer, they're always crying. Again, our modern concepts of heroism and manliness simply don't apply to ancient Greece. The men of Homer cried all the time. Again, Jiang is simply misapplying his random modern psychobabble to a completely different world. Describing Achilles as numb and unable to cry is not at all how Homer describes Achilles. Achilles freely grieves his friend. He cries, he groans, he weeps. There's no fucking issue with it. But what's hilarious is that later on, Jiang actually sticks to this lie, even when a student reads an actual book passage to him out loud where it mentions Achilles crying again for Patroclus. Let's listen.
Okay, I'm going.
Taking the old man's hand, he gently moved him back, and overpowered by memory, both men gave way to grief. Priam wept freely for man-killing Hector, throbbing, crouching before Achilles' feet as Achilles wept himself, now for his father, now for Patroclus once again.
He wept for Patroclus once again. Not for the first time, bitch.
And their sobbing rose and fell throughout the house. Then, when brilliant Achilles had had his fill of tears and the longing for it has left his mind and body.
So what's happened is that Priam has defeated Achilles. Okay? Remember, Achilles, his great problem is he can't cry. He doesn't know what he did wrong. He doesn't know how to express his guilt and shame, okay? But now that Priam has forgiven him, Priam has actually liberated Achilles, okay? Before Achilles, his soul was trapped in evil. And now, by forgiving Achilles, Priam has let his soul loose to reconnect with the universe and therefore to return to its poetic self, okay?
What is this cell phone in the background? He's just like, huh? Gotta ignore it. And I cannot. Okay, wait a second. Did the student reading for him have a British accent? Right? I swear that was a British accent. And I, I'm starting to think these are not his students, but rather his cult followers. But I just don't know. All I can say is that everything about this is so fucking weird. This is the weirdest classroom I have ever seen with the weirdest professor in it. And another interesting thing I find funny that all the chuds out there are going to just start yelling at Jiang about is that he's using Emily Wilson's translation of the Iliad here. By the way, I have an interview with her coming out next week, so stay tuned. It's about the Odyssey in honor of the movie. But okay, to return to the point, it's quite clear that Achilles wept for Patroclus once again, because yes, he cried for like the 5th time for Patroclus. He's not filled with guilt. He's not numb. He is grieving his friend. It's really that simple. So yeah, that's the Iliad according to the fake Professor Jiang. Let's see how he ends this 3rd video, summing up everything that we learned from him about the Iliad. It's going to be a good one.
What this is the Big Bang of civilization. Because when you read this, okay, when you're forced to switch perspectives, it's a violent assault on your own consciousness, your prejudice, your beliefs, your values all being destroyed at once, which allows you to access the entirety of the universe, okay? Does that make sense? Only through trauma, only through pain, only through suffering can you access empathy and wisdom. And that's a great truth of the Iliad. But also, this is why the Iliad has to be a lifelong journey, because it will take you an entire life to appreciate the nuance, the beauty, the power of the Iliad. It'll take you a lifetime to understand the motivations, the psychology of all the characters, okay? These are
Just to note, the only way you're actually going to accomplish this is to forget everything that this guy told us.
all living beings. But if you were to spend your entire life doing so, I guarantee you, you'll come out a much more wise person who now has a universe in your soul. And that will make you invincible and eternal. Okay? But it's your choice. Okay? All right. So that's it for the Iliad. We'll start the Odyssey next. Okay? Which is a continuation of the Iliad. Any questions? Ask a question, guys. Come on. You guys understand this?
No,
Does it make sense to you?
no.
Well, then ask a question to make sure you understand what's going on.
I got some questions.
Okay, all right. This was a lot to take in. But this will stay with you for the rest of your life, okay? So over time, this will become much more clear. All right, so we start the Odyssey next class. Okay?
No questions. Of course not. I mean, come on. If I was sitting there, I'd have no fucking questions either. Everything went over my fucking head, and I know the Iliad very well. Because if I was there, I suppose I'd be like, everything you say makes so much sense, wise Professor Jiang. Please give me an A. Or I'd just cut class because it seems like no students show up for his class. I seriously wonder if any of the students that are there actually read the Iliad and are thinking to themselves, like, what the living fuck are you talking about, man? Probably not. There's apparently only 1 or 2 students there anyway, and I really don't think they're students. Like, I think they're probably cultists. I don't know. So, all right, how are we going to wrap this up? All right, let's go back to the very first lecture and see how Jiang advises communicating with God. After all, he's channeling these voices with that antenna in his brain. I think this will make the perfect ending here for you all, something to learn and apply to your own lives.
And this is a great secret of all religions. This is what all religions practice. At the same time, there are actually some hacks, okay? Hacks. So meditation is what you're supposed to do, but a lot of people are like, you know what? This is a long time, like decades and decades of isolation, of just meditation, of trying to figure out how to connect the universe. Okay, that's decades and decades, possibly 100 years. There must be an easier way. And there are, okay? They're not great, but there are. And we figured it out, okay? So the first hack that you can use is psychedelics. Right? So these drugs, and they could be magic mushrooms, they could be ayahuasca, peyote, whatever, okay? But they alter your consciousness in a way that disrupts your left hemisphere and allows you to focus on your right hemisphere, which allows you to see the nomana, okay? When you see the nomana, you're like, oh my God, it's just energy, okay? It's just colors, colors, colors. So if you go online and you see artwork from people who've used psychedelics, you will see that it's very colorful, okay? And it's very strong. It's all vibrational. Okay, so that's one hack.
What the fuck, man? Is he telling his high school students to take drugs? Right? Is that what he's doing? I mean, seriously, how many of you think that Jiang drops acid or magic mushrooms or peyote or ayahuasca before giving his crazy lectures? Or maybe when he comes up with the topics? I don't even know. So yeah, that was another wild ride with the fake Professor Jiang. He is absolutely amazeballs fucking nuts. He just freebases conspiracy theories, makes up shit on the spot, and I really think he kind of symbolizes our world. He appears on Sneeko and Hasan Piker, Mehdi Hasan and Piers Morgan. I cannot emphasize this enough, though. People just need to fucking stop talking to him. It's so easy to just do a minor amount of due diligence and realize that he's not a fucking professor. You could learn that his YouTube channel titled Predictive History teaches fake history. You could see that this random guy with an Ivy League bachelor's in literature from Yale doesn't even understand the basics of fucking literature, like how to read. He's just a fucking con artist. He has developed a method to speak persuasively and to manipulate listeners into believing the reality that he's creating. Evidence be damned. And also, he shows what he's doing and how he's doing it in these lectures. In the end, though, he is a net negative on our world. He promotes anti-intellectualism and conspiracy theories. But hey, at least he's fun to laugh at, I guess.
Rhymes and riddles, tickle, tickle, giggles, squiggle, jiggle, fiddle, flint, untibble. Rhymes and riddles, tickle, tickle, giggles, squiggle, jiggle, fiddle, dibble, 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 dibble. Flint, untibble, flint, untibble, flint, untibble.